Okay guys, so what I'm gonna show you today is this workflow is the following workflow from our previous one. This workflow here it's meant to update workflows, right? So you already have a workflow and we need to update that. You need to add new features or fix something or change the way that it's doing. Instead of you going there, change the workflow manually, we will ask our AI agent to do that for you, right? So that's the idea. And I'm going to explain why this workflow here has a lot of sticky notes, right, in a second. So in the next video, I showed you this workflow, the scheduler builder. This guy here is responsible for creating workflows, so you can pass the workflow details here, and the agent will connect to the OpenAI chat model and with this HTTP request tool as well to create the workflow. So and then we create the workflow and activate that automatically. You don't need to do anything, just that, and the workflow will be running. And today we want to improve those workflows, right? Let's say we want to add more filters, as I said before. So what is the main difference here? Of course, is our AI agent, right? So the system prompt is quite different from what it was before. Here, it's a different behavior, different role to this AI agent. So now it is an expert n8n updater and improver agent, right? So the role is to receive a workflow ID or link. So in the chat, I will send the link, right, or the ID of the workflow. And the ID of the workflow, you can find that easily on the URL, right? So in the URL, you can find the workflow ID. And then I have more instructions here. And I, of course, I also give in here some informations regarding the tools that I have included in this workflow, right? So this agent has some tools. Let me go through those tools. Make it bigger. So one tool here is to list all active workflows. If the agent wants to see how the workflows, the current workflows look like to get some inspiration or to see how it works anyway. So we have this tool, we will list all active workflows. Here it will list all the disabled workflows, very intuitive. Get a workflow. So this is a very important tool because we will give the workflow ID to the agent, but only the ID, right? So the agent needs to know what is the workflow structure looks like. So this tool here will get the workflow for the agent, basically get the workflow by ID to be updated using the following endpoint. Let's make it bigger. And then I have the endpoint here. And I ask the AI to replace the workflow ID, this part here, with the ID of the workflow to be updated, right? And the URL I set to define automatically by the module. So the module I could set here manually, right? But I don't know the workflow ID. So I put this thing here. You saw that here. Let the model define this parameter. So the model will update this URL, change the workflow ID, and set this thing here in this tool to get the workflow, right? And of course, our local instance API key to access the n8n REST API. If you are not familiar to n8n REST API, let me show you in a second. So any instance has this public key API REST API, and you can have some very interesting methods here for users, audit, execution, and workflows. Workflows are what we are using. In the previous workflow, the builder, we basically use the create workflow and activate workflow. So basically you need to pass some parameters to that endpoint with your API key. And now we are using retrieves a workflow to get the workflow that we want to update, and we will return the workflow structure that we have in our database, right? And then we will update the workflow, right? So we need the workflow ID for that thing, and of course the workflow structure to be updated. So in the end, has this great filter. You can manipulate n8n using APIs. It's nice. And we have more stuff here. We have credentials. You can create the credentials, delete, tags, and other stuffs here as well. All right. So this is how our agent will get the workflow structure using this tool. And I put another tool here so the agent can know how to get workflow with sticky notes, or basically how to add sticky notes to a workflow, right? So in this workflow, I add a lot of sticky notes here, right? And get workflow with sticky notes will basically return this JSON workflow here to the agent, right? So it's gonna be this workflow with this ID, exactly this ID to return exactly this workflow, because this workflow has some sticky notes, so the agent can know how to create sticky notes, right? Why I am doing that? In the system prompt, I ask it to add sticky notes explaining what was the change, right? What the change was, basically. So provide explanation or highlight according regarding the change, right? So the purpose of the nodes, the overall workflow logic, and right, just this basically. So we can know what the agent did in this workflow. All right. So that's it. That's the workflow. So the other parts here, convert to JSON and set requires fields. They are meant to ensure that the workflow JSON itself it's okay. And I have included a third node here. It's a code node because sometimes the agent return the workflow structure is nice, but the nodes structured inside the workflow are not good. So sometimes the agent includes some empty fields that doesn't exist and it will fail to update the workflow, or they include fields that are not necessarily. So in this function here, I'm basically listing all the fields that a node should have, and then I ensure only those fields, right? Only those fields will be accepted in the node. And of course, if the value of that field in the node is empty or null, it will not be taken as well, right? So only fields that are allowed and fields that exist in terms of value will be allowed, and the nodes object will be updated in that way, right? So here you can see I call the function ensure no empty node files, right? Fields, I guess, fields, no empty node fields. And I pass only the nodes. So in the item.json, I have the whole workflow structure that came from AI, and I only want the nodes here, right? So if we go back here, from the AI, I will get the name, the nodes, which is an array, and that is what we are updating the next node, connections, and settings. Only this, right? And the ID, of course, I need the ID to update. And here I'm getting only the nodes, update them. And finally, I call the update workflow passing the ID, right? The JSON ID, which is going to be the workflow ID. And the API key for sure, and the JSON body, which is going to be the workflow name, the nodes that we checked, the connections, and the settings, nothing else, right? And then it will update the workflow as we wish. This is how it works. Okay, so let's run it. Let's see how it's gonna be, right? First of all, let's find a workflow that we want to update. Okay, so we have this workflow here that we have been creating in other videos, the check API periodically. It basically gets the dog of the day, send it to Telegram. It also gets the phrase of the day, daily fact here, right? And it also gets some word news and personal tech news using RSS nodes in this sub workflow here, right? RS processor, and send to Telegram. Use AI as well to, I don't remember what it's doing. We're giving just create a message in the format for Telegram, basically, with everything that we have, and send it to Telegram, which is this Telegram. Let's say we have this workflow here, right? Let's say we want to add more news here, right? We have the word news and the personal tech news. Let's add health news and AI news, right? Let's see if it can find health news and AI news. I will copy the URL here and let's go to our OpenAI. So open chat. Okay, so the following workflow has two special set nodes. Among the others, they are responsible for defining the RSS URLs for word and personal tech news. Okay. After then, a subworkflow is called to get the data, okay, filter, short, and then send it back to the workflow. I want to add more news topics beyond the word and tech news. I want to include AI and health news as well. Please change only the main workflow, add more set nodes for the news topics I want. And he uses the main workflow. I make it clear because I don't want it to change the sub workflows, right? Only the main workflow here. This guy that I want to send. So right now you can see it only have set word news and personal tech news. And oh Jesus, I lost that. Okay. All right, no problem. Just paste again. And please do not change the processor workflow. Okay, so that's it. Let me just check something here. The timeout for the chat model I set to 10 minutes, right? So 600,000 milliseconds. 10 minutes because it can take a little bit longer. And let's end that. Let's see how it's gonna be. Right, so let's reduce this a little bit. Let's see the workflow. It's connecting the chat. Okay, it get the workflow here. It got the workflow basically from this thing. And let's see what else is gonna happen here. All right, it got the workflow with stick notes. I don't think they will need these other things here because it has everything from the workflow. Let's see, let's wait a little bit more. All right, it finished. It took some time, but we got an error here sometime. DNS error, I guess, but it finished with success. Basically convert to JSON, it converted, set required fields. All right, nodes, ensure the nodes, fields, looks good, and then update the workflow. Looks good. All right, so let's refresh this and see how it's gonna look like. Right, word news, personal tech news. Okay, we have more notes here. So we have AR, ICS new details. It's gonna be New York Times, technology. Okay. And the health, New York Times as well. I don't remember the other ones. Yeah, they are New York Times. Okay. And then call the processor. It increased the merge nodes as well here, the merge inputs, right? We only had 3, so to increase that, it needs to change that to 5. Looks good, so it updated that in a very beautiful way. And by the way, let's see the every time. Let's see the message of the day. You have this dog here, the terrier. Okay. And we have the word news, personal tech news, and the Bitcoin stuff that we created. Let's see. Consider buying. So if you are thinking of buying Bitcoin, so time to buy. And let's end that executed this workflow. Let's see if it's gonna work. All right, they work it, no issues here. The photo, set the database, use the OpenAI AI chat module to format the message, put everything together, send the message and insert in your database. Finish. Let's see. All right, so right now the dog's breed is a Setter Gordon. Nice. Let's see. Today Word news, personal AI and technology news. I like that. Microsoft Services Defense Ministry. It's not AI, but it's fine. And court interviews put with Fortnite Create. Okay, it's not AI, but they are technology. And then we have the health news, Trump's reality alone. Yeah. News. Okay, sounds good. Okay, in my mind, it sounds good. So we didn't need to create the nodes by ourselves, find the RSS that we want to find, connect everything. Our updater did that for us and it worked despite a minor error here. And that's it, how it's gonna be, right? How it's be. If this builder here is the workflow to rule them all, maybe the updater is the Witch King, right? The Witcher King, the Witch King. Right? So it's the main general. This guy will create, this guy will update. We could try put both in the same workflow using the same agent and try to update the system prompt to make it behave in the two ways. But we know maybe agent KI works better in one task, in one responsibility. If you start adding more responsibility, it could make things more complicated, at least at this point, right? This was the return of the agent. It's a JSON in a string format. So we convert back to JSON and working on the required fields for the workflow windows. So that's it. We can try more things in the future, right? So next video, we will keep using these two guys to create our workflows. That's all for today, people. I hope you enjoyed and see you next video.